This is Sean McLean. I'm just going to do a quick video with a couple of highlights about the Adobe Connect environment for virtual instructor-led trainers, maybe who've been through ICP but not had a hands-on experience with a classroom environment. If at all possible, I would encourage you to get some hands-on practice time in an Adobe Connect room as the host. I can't provide that myself, as I'm often using my Adobe Connect room to teach classes, but what I can do is a quick walkthrough and maybe give you some ideas or things to check. So the first thing that you'll need to do is to use your own Adobe Connect account to log in. And in our case, my account is tied to ServiceNow. So I'm going to go to servicenow.adobeconnect.com. And in that initial login, you'll be prompted for a username, which will typically be your email and then your password. And I'm going to come in and show you what this initial room looks like. So a couple of high points. Initially, when you're brought in, you have a list of what are referred to as meetings or rooms. Now, one thing I do want to bring up, for internal ServiceNow folk, you have templates, so pre-configured rooms set up for you that you could copy and adopt. And there are some videos on doing that for the internal folks, I believe, in the box folders. For other people, I really encourage you to look at Adobe Connect and their support videos, because that'll tell you quite a lot about moving through the system. For me, I'm going to go to the room that I've been managing or building. Now again, most people starting will be pulling out one of these two templates and adopting. But I'm going to come over here and I'm going to point to the room. Now you'll notice when I mouse over, I have that area of information, edit, or go to the room. So I just want to kind of talk to the setup of the room. If I go to information, you can kind of see the information that's set up, including in my case, a conference caller dial-in number. This is not a requirement at present, but it is sometimes a good idea to have that, because you may have people connecting internationally who either don't have a speaker or don't have a microphone and therefore want to dial in. To set that up, and just to kind of quickly highlight that, I'm going to go to Edit for the room. When I go to Edit for the room, one of the things you'll notice, this is the information that came out, and when I send the invite, that's what they see. You'll also see as well, if I come down a little bit further, when I set up the information, I can even set up the prefix in some of those pieces. I'm going to scroll down here and point out the conference and audio conference setting information. This is a little tricky because at first it talks about the audio conference information, and these are the ones that are there, but those are actually set up through the audio profiles. The audio profiles, if I take a look and scroll up here, can actually, I can't remember exactly myself where they're set up, I think under administration. But you can go to them here as well. So I'll click on the Manage Audio Profiles. And then you'll see here in the audio profiles, what you're doing is you're putting in the name. Now, at this point, I can simply choose one or another, but if I need to add a new one, what is interesting about that is it links to another place, which is the audio provider. So when I look here and I see Zoom and Zoom 2, those are set up through audio providers. And when we look at the audio providers and I go to New Provider, what you're really doing is typing. If the audio provider gives you a URL, then you can of course enter that. But then what you're adding in here is the dial-in menu. So you're telling the Adobe Connect Virtual Room what to dial so that it can call in. So in other words, your initial action, I'm going to show you kind of what that looks like really quickly. If you were to add a step, you would simply say, this action you can call, call this conference number. When it says key or number, you're telling the system what number to punch. So if you're international, it'd be plus or 001, and then whatever the 800 number is. But then you need to tell it the next step. And so I want to point that out as well. Those steps, if you look at them, may be dialing numbers or delay. And so after the number's dialed, you want to put in an appreciable delay, like wait 900 milliseconds, I believe, or wait 500 milliseconds, which is a period of time that lets the phone pick up as if it were just dialing through. And then you'd pick the next number and move to the next step to continue to set up that profile. Then that's the profile that you're able to choose here to set up the dial-in for the room. So that's kind of setting up the dial-in and the room. Moving on a little bit. This is not necessary. It's just an added step. Let's go back over and look at the rooms, though, for just a minute. And I'll go back into user meetings. Actually, I'll go back to my home page. And when I go to my user meetings, I want to talk about some of the tools in there. So I have the room, the US VILT, and that's my extension when someone dials in. So whenever I give somebody that, I would just choose ServiceNow AdobeConnect.com/US VILT. That's how someone will get into my room. Now I'm going to open my room, and you'll be aware when you set this up, the system wants a plugin. You need that plugin to teach the class because that's how you share. So make sure that you have the Adobe Connect plugin and that information. I'm going to open the Adobe Connect plugin, and I'm going to move it over onto my main screen so that you can kind of see it. And it takes a moment to connect, but once it does, you get a screen something like this. There we go. It has to do some adjusting. Now, let's talk about this space. The first thing that we get are notifications. And you'll notice once I bring that information in, you'll find that you would have your audio connection. Now, these elements out here that you see on my system are a series of pods. These pods are what you make and connect and use to basically make your Adobe Connect virtual room your own. In the templates, they have many of these pods preset, but these are the ones that when you take a copy of that template, you'd make your own. Now, I'm going to move this over just a bit, and then I'm going to switch the recording. So there'll be a brief pause while I do that, so I can show you more about the room.